Hey everybody, today I'm counting down my top 10 entry-level Euro games. Now, Euro games are my favourite aspect of the hobby. I love the different strategies you can take. I love the different paths to victory, the efficiency puzzle. It's my really kind of favourite part of it because it does just kind of tick all the boxes for me and scratch all my gaming itches. However, I do understand how Euro games are often really daunting to new players because they're often drier in their theme. You know, they don't have as much kind of thematic ties or anything like that, and also they can just seem you know, a bit daunting because there's so many different things going on. However, there are some really good games out there that just do a great job of introducing these kind of Euro mechanisms to players, and just do a great way of just drip feeding the different things you're going to see. So I've made a list of 10 games here. I don't think they're in a particular order. But I think these are definitely ones to check out if you know, Euro games have piqued your interest. You do want to, you know, dip your toe into that genre, but just don't feel ready to fully go into the heavier stuff yet. So let's get started at number 10 and we'll talk through them. So at number 10, I have Santiago de Cuba. Now this is a game that's pretty much flown under a lot of people's radars, but it's a very nice, simple game with a nice different elements of things to explore. So you've got this nice rondelle system, which is this map of this port, and you are moving this car around to visit different kind of people of the city or the town. And as you visit these people, you're going to collect these different goods. You've got all your different, you know, your different commodities. And the idea is that when you are going or collecting these things, when you get back to this port spot, you can basically sell them for points. But the game has this really cool idea where you don't have your own personal player piece. You are actually kind of controlling that car, which is going to see the people together. So you can be very clever about, you know, going to places that's going to suit you, but move past people who you know your opponent wants to go to, because you can only move one way. And not only that, when you go and see these people, there is a kind of a corresponding block of worker placement spots where you can place your pawn and get further bonuses as well. And not only that, you can also claim some of those worker placement spots as your own, basically buy them, and then whenever other people visit those workers, you're going to get money as well. So I love those different things, and there's a good amount of kind of commodity speculation as you can manipulate the timing and the values of those different goods to suit your needs. The game is very attractive to look at, flows very nicely, and it plays in about 45 minutes as well. A really solid introductory game, one that I don't think gets enough credit, and it's a very fun experience. That is Santiago de Cuba. At number 9, I have a very popular game, especially at this time, Architects of the West Kingdom. Now, there could have been a number of games for this spot. Basically, I consider these kind of entry-level worker placement style games. Now, worker placement is a mechanism very kind of synonymous with Euro games, where you have basically a number of workers and you are, or pawns, placing them on these different spots on the board and getting rewards in return. Architects of the West Kingdom, I think, does a great job of differentiating itself from a lot of the other games out there, such as Lords of Waterdeep or Stone Age, which are kind of generally renowned as great introductory worker placement style games. But Architects has a really nice flow to it, where you are constantly just taking turns or very quick actions, putting them on these different spots to get resources. And when you put more and more workers on there, you're going to accumulate more and more goods, which is a really nice touch, and it keeps the game flowing nicely. And also you are using those resources not only to buy buildings, or you can contribute to building the cathedral, or you can kind of get new kind of helpers into your hand, which give you ongoing bonuses. But it also has this very cool virtue system where you can basically go up on virtue in order to get more points, or you can go down on virtue, which kind of ends up you losing points, but it gives you kind of really strong bonuses as well, where you can go to the black market and get really strong, you know, a big bunch of resources very quickly and a lot more kind of efficiently than going to the normal spots. And you also have to pay tax for doing different actions, which kind of goes into this money pool, which you can also go to and lose virtue. So there's just a little bit more going on in this one, just to keep you engaged a bit longer than those other ones I previously mentioned. But it's still very simple, it's fast, and the rules overhead is very digestible. That's Architects of the West Kingdom. At number 8, I have Crown of Amara. Now, Crown of Amara, again, it's a kind of resource conversion style game, but the thing that makes this game so unique is the fact that it uses 2 separate rondelles. One rondelle is basically used for accumulating your resources, and the other one is used for cashing them in to get points and stuff. And this game has a really nice ongoing tension throughout, because as you accumulate these resources, you're going to want to cash them in. But you're going to want to cash them in as quickly as possible, because the quicker you are, the better return you get on those resources, because there's these dials that get reduced as the game goes on, which means that kind of following players are not going to get as good returns as you have previously. There's a good amount of engine building as well, as you can buy these different workers and stuff. There's this puzzle aspect, because you actually have to program your actions prior to taking your turns, because you have a bunch of cards which have additional kind of benefits on, such as giving you resources and stuff like that. And you're going to assign them to different kind of movement speeds on your board, and that's going to dictate how many spaces you move around these rondelles. And you can make some really cool synergies and nice different really efficient turns, and it's just a really cool game that scratches a lot of different itches in terms of being efficient as you can. You've got, as I said, the tension there, you've got the engine building, you've also can trade in resources to kind of up your noble ranks, which gets you more points at the end of the game, and it's just a really nice product. And I think it's a great way to introduce a lot of Euro mechanisms to new players. So that is Crown of Amara. At number 7, I have the Palaces of Carrara. Now, this is by one of my favourite designers, Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling. And this game is very, very streamlined in terms of what you actually do on your turns. You do one of 3 things. You can either pick up this marble, or different marble. You can build a building, or you can, forgive me, I can't even think what the other thing you do is. But basically that's what you're doing. You're picking up different resources, and then you are trading them in to build buildings. And the third action is to actually score a city, because you are basically taking turns and accumulating these different marble, which has this very cool resource system where when you buy things, you pay what the current market value is, or you can kind of rotate it and make everything kind of 1 cheaper. But as you're doing that, obviously you're making it cheaper for your opponents as well. And it's just something you have to bear in mind. It has this very strange flow or tempo to it, where you want to score things when they are profitable, but you don't want to wait too much, because your opponent might score them before you, locking you out of that scoring opportunity. It's a very clever game. It has a ton of replayability, and because there are so many different scoring kind of cards and endgame objectives you can use. But it's a really well put together game and a lot of fun, and it plays in a short amount of time too. So that is the Palaces of Carrara. At number 6, I have Xi'an, the Terracotta Army. Now, this is a game I happily introduce to new players. I think it's a great introductory game, not only for worker placement, but it also has area control as well, because you are basically going to go to one of 4 different kind of worker placement spots, which let you do basically place statues down or paint statues, or basically buy artifacts, which has this kind of set collection mechanism. But the cool thing about this game is this card play, because you have a deck of identical cards, or each player does, and you're going to draw 4 of those cards off the top of that deck, and you're going to place them in 2 pairs of 2. And there is a different amount of information on those cards, such as the resource you're going to get for those cards, but also the kind of initiative you're playing them as well, because being first in this game is very important. And obviously the higher the initiative, kind of the higher power you're sacrificing to use that initiative. And some of those cards, as I said, might give you different pigments, which you can use to paint statues on the board, which give you area control, basically power for endgame scoring. You've also got the kind of these helpers that you can use, which give you ongoing benefits. So they might give you discounts on items or stuff like that. But it has a very digestible mechanisms, but in a very engaging way. So you've got the set collection, where you're trying to collect different sets of weapons. You've got the kind of the bronze weapons, and you've got the wood weapons. And basically, if you have I think it's a set of 3 of each, you're going to get a big kind of multipliers. But you've also got this idea where you're collecting this different brick and trading it in to build statues on the board, which can give you instant rewards. And then you are collecting pigments in order to paint those your colour for area control majorities. So there are loads of different things to explore. Do you want to collect the set collection? Do you want to focus on controlling those, different regions? And also you've got this track on the board, which is kind of like basically almost like a technology track, where the further you go up this track, you're going to get these tiles which you can use for your advantage, and you're going to accumulate more and more points that way as well. So it's a really cool game. It has a nice physical presence or table presence as well, because you're placing these plastic statues on the board, claiming these different kind of squares, and it's just really fun. It plays uber quickly, and there's lots of different things to explore. That is Xi'an, the Terracotta Army. At number 5, I have Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road. Now this is a card-based game which mainly focuses on engine building. So you're going to basically make all these different caravans of cards, which are these columns of cards, and your turn consists of using or activating one of the cards on the front of those rows. And those cards are going to basically give you more cards, or they can give you different resources in terms of these spices, because you've got a player board with all these different basically commodities that you have. You've got all the different colour spices, you've got gold, and you've got donkeys as well. And the idea is that you are trying to boost up your spices and then trade them in by fulfilling orders to get victory points. And the first person to get to, I think it's 25 victory points, is the winner. So it does have a race aspect to it. But what I love about this game is the efficiency puzzle of it, as you are basically getting new cards and placing them in these different columns, and then activating them in a way that synergizes together to be as quick and efficient as possible. It's great fun, extremely clever, a ton of replayability because there are so many cards to use, and it's just a really well put together game, and another hidden gem. That is Kashgar, Merchants of the Silk Road. At number 4, I have my second game actually by Wolfgang Kramer. This is Coliseum. Now, Coliseum is a fantastic game where you are basically taking control of your own arena or Coliseum, and you're trying to put on shows by collecting all these different resources, such as your gladiators and your lions and your chariots and all these different cool things, in order to put on these huge productions to get as many spectators as possible. The scoring system in this game is really unique because I think the game plays over 5 rounds, but your score is the best show you put on for over those 5 rounds. So it doesn't have a accumulating scoring method. It just has your best show is your score, which is a really cool different kind of feel to a game, and not many other games do it. But this game has auctions where you are trying to basically bid and outbid your opponents to get the tiles you want to put on these productions. It has a great flow to it and a great kind of progression throughout the game as you're trying to expand your arena to put on bigger shows, and you're buying those bigger shows, and you can buy upgrades to give you advantages that your opponents don't have. It's really well put together. Extremely simple to learn, very easy to explain, but it still works really well. It completely forces you to be strategic, because if you don't think ahead in this game, then you will not do well. But still, in respect of that, it's very easy to understand, which a lot of strategic games aren't easy to explain, because you have to take that tactical mentality out of your thinking kind of space and think long term instead of thinking just for now. But I think Coliseum is a great game that introduces that to players, and it's just a really nice family weight Euro game, but still with a lot going on and a lot to sink your teeth into. So that is Coliseum. At number 3, I have a game by extremely prolific Eurogame designer Stefan Feld. Now this is Notre Dame. Now Notre Dame for me is probably is his most introductory level game that I've played personally. It's a card drafting game, so you're going to have a bunch of cards, and every player is going to draw 3 cards off their identical stack, and you're going to pick one of these cards and pass the rest to your opponent, and everybody's going to do the same until you have 3 cards in hand. And then you're going to take turns activating those cards, and those cards are going to have very simple but kind of cool things that they do. So they can either give you victory points, or they can give you more cubes to give you kind of more power in the game, or they can give you money. And then you are basically putting cubes on these different regions depending on the cards you've selected, and the more cubes you put on those regions, the bigger benefits you get off of them. So say I put 2 cubes on ended up putting 2 cubes on the coin space, I'll get 2 coins. And if I put a third one on, I'll get 3 coins. So it's got that nice kind of ramping up feel to it. But you're also trying to fight over control of Notre Dame Cathedral, because you're trying to have the majority of cubes in there, which means you're going to have to sacrifice some of your kind of board power. You're trying to travel around the map, trying to collect these different tokens to get points and different things. You are trying to activate all these different cards, which you need money to use, which can give you huge advantages and let you manipulate your board to your needs. But more importantly, you're trying to fight off these different rats that attack you at the end of each round. And if you can't have enough kind of power to fight off the rats, then you are going to lose a bunch of points and lose cubes from your board as well. So I love this game that it introduced this idea that a lot of Steffenfeld games use, which is the fact that the game actually kind of fights against you, and you really do have to worry about that. You can not only play the game to suit yourself, you can try and spite your opponent by taking cards that you know they want, which can be very useful. And it just kind of opens your mind to the different approaches you can take to these games, because there are a lot of different things you can try on this game and do quite well off, in exploring. It's very simple. It plays very quickly. I think you can get a game of this done under an hour. There's not much downtime at all, so you're always engaged. And again, another game that's easy to explain but has a lot going on in it, but not too much. So that is Notre Dame at number 3. At number 2, I have Council of Four by Daniele Tascini and Simone Luciani. This game is, I suppose it's another engine style building game, as you are basically have a hand of cards, and basically the board is divided into these different regions. And you are trying to match your cards with the different council members assigned to those different regions. And the more cards you assign means that you get kind of a money discount in order to basically buy these tiles, which let you place, and you trade in those tiles to place different nobles on the board to get rewards. But the cool thing is, you're trying to place these nobles in these cities, not only to get the rewards from those cities, but you're trying to get a certain amount of colours of a certain city type to get points that way. But you can also build up these huge networks of different cities where when you place one of your noble tokens down, you not only activate that city to get the reward off them, which can be kind of money or points or cards or going down tracks and stuff, you also activate all the connecting cities to that. So you can build up, as I said, these huge combinations and get loads of rewards by placing one of your people down, which is really cool and very satisfying. It does kind of have that Ticket to Ride style feel to it, where you're trying to match, you're drawing cards and trying to match them to things, but it still has a lot of mitigation. There are different things to explore. You can kind of go for the more spread out cities and get points that way. Some of them are harder to do than others. But yeah, it's a really great game. It's very simple, boiled down to the very simple actions, but still has a lot of mileage in it. There's a lot of things to explore, and it's a lot of fun, and great table presence as well, which is an important thing to kind of introduce people to the hobby. So that is Council of Four by Simone Luciani and Daniele Tascini, currently published by Come On Games. And finally, at number 1, I have Istanbul by Rüdiger Dorn. Now this is a game that I think is just fantastic. So the idea is, it was another race style game where you want to be the first to do things. You want to be, in this instance, you want to be the first to collect 5 or 6 rubies, depending on the player count. And you can do that in a load of different ways. So you have a stack of your merchant tiles on this huge grid of tiles, and all these tiles have different things that they do. And you are basically moving around 1 or 2 spaces and dropping off one of your tokens on the way and activating that tile. And as you are kind of doing this, you can kind of backtrack on yourself and pick these kind of assistants up rather than dropping them off. So you've got this kind of a mapping puzzle that you kind of have to work your way through. But as I said, you're trying to kind of collect goods, and you can trade them in for points or for coins, and you're trying to trade those coins in for rubies, or you can try and expand your wheelbarrow capacity, which means you can carry more goods, and then the quicker you kind of get your wheelbarrow up to full capacity, then you get a ruby that way. There's loads of different things you can do by trading in goods and different things like that, and it's just a great way to loads of different things to explore, loads of things to try. Very simple. There's a great amount of player interaction as well, because you are well, when somebody takes or is claiming a certain tile, you have to pay money to use that tile as well. It's just a brilliant, breezy pick up and deliver style game. But the cool thing about this game is that once you've done with the kind of basic introductory level of the game, you can buy the expansions to it, which really do ramp up the complexity while still keeping the mechanisms very clean and simple. It's fantastic. It's such a great game, and one that, as I've kind of had it over the years, I've grown to appreciate it more and more, and my enjoyment of it has gone up rather than gone down, which is extremely rare for me. I kind of tend to have that initial hype of the game, and I tend to really enjoy it, and then it diminishes. But in this one, it's gone the complete opposite way, and the more I play it, the more I appreciate it, which is a huge testament to a game like this. It's very simple to introduce. A lot of the tiles are simple in what they do, because a lot of them are the same as well, so there's not a lot of different things you have to explain because they work very similarly, but still have enough going on without feeling repetitive. So this is a great game, and not only for an introductory level game, but to anybody, in my opinion. So that's Istanbul, a strong number one for me. But all in all, these 10 games are really great games to introduce to Eurogaming mechanisms, and obviously I highly recommend them. So I hope this has been somewhat useful to you. If it has, please hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos too. You can also support me by following me on Instagram and supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the links below for those. But for everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.